welcome to Anime Audio Commentary. Today I'll be commenting over Cowboy Bebop Episode 3. If you'd like to watch along, start watching now. So it looks like, once again, we're dealing with Mars this episode. I don't think that'll always be the case, but it has been for these past two episodes. So right off the bat, we're introduced to Faye Valentine, and she's sort of like the archetypical femme fatale kind of character. And I guess in accordance with the whole femme fatale archetype, she's dangerous. You know, if that machine gun says anything. So for all her talk about shooting them before they shoot you, she was just outnumbered, outgunned, outmatched. So it sounds like Faye has a pretty bad reputation already as things go. So It's funny that they mentioned Charlie Parker because he was a pretty prolific jazz musician. I have to agree with Jet. That was a pretty darn disgusting thing to do. Uh, but at any rate, I think we've found the crux of this episode in that it largely revolves around Faye's gambling debt and how Spike and Jet have about 5,000 Woolongs to their name. So it seems like the idea is that they'll try and gamble to get more money. They don't know about Faye yet. Or so it seems. And here we have those three old men again. I like that they've shown up again. It's nice of Spike to help those old guys out. So I guess Faye sort of lives up to her supposed reputation of being good at gambling. Debt notwithstanding. Something tells me that based on the grainy picture, he only bears a moderate resemblance to Spike. And Spike is in fact not the one. So it looks like we're setting this episode up for another farce. Or misunderstanding. So we're getting some more background information on what is supposed to happen and what Faye thinks will happen. But if I know one thing, it's that it's probably not going to happen. so whether Spike was playing along wittingly or he just didn't know any better, he was sort of following the plan as Faye understood it up until the last point where he decided to keep the last chip for himself. And here we have the switcheroo where Spike bumps into the guy that should have met up with Faye. And they sort of swap chips inadvertently. Alright, so now another interesting development has presented itself. Faye supposedly has a reputation for either not cheating or not being caught cheating, but Spike is clearly aware that she was cheating and calls her out for it in a rather public setting. Alright, so Spike puts his martial arts skills to good use and dispatches the thugs in the employ of the casino. Alright, well, since things have sort of hit the fan, so to speak, Faye has decided to deviate from the plan further. Things are really starting to go off the rails now. As Spike, he mounts an ever increasing toll of casualties. You know, obviously Jet's interested at first, but when he finds out it's his partner, that's not a good situation to be in. So, much like Ein, it seems like the poker chick is another MacGuffin that they don't want falling into the hands of law enforcement. I wonder if that's not just the secret to writing, like, noir drama. Have something that's a MacGuffin, and then everything just sort of revolves around that. So, once again, Spike's disgusting habits pay dividends. So it's another interesting bit where even though Faye's telling the truth, they just sort of assume she's lying. Not a bad assumption, all things considered, but it's just another cascading set of misunderstandings. So as it turns out, Faye has a pretty hefty bounty on her head, and they had already unwittingly captured her. So she keeps trying to feed him a lie about how she needs to like constantly roam around and how she can't be imprisoned by the police. I mean, she's essentially just trying to bargain her way out of a bad situation. So here we get another little tidbit of backstory whereby Jet reveals that he was with law enforcement previously. He had alluded before that he had friends in law enforcement, but never that he himself was actually law enforcement. So the plot thickens. So here I think we have another instance of Ein showing that he's smarter than your average dog. I mean, you could mistake what he's doing for normal dog behavior, barking at a stranger, but personally I prefer to interpret that he knows that Faye is worth money to Spike and Jet, or would otherwise be up to no good, and therefore he should try and prevent her from getting away. So obviously they were planning on double-crossing Spike and Jet, and it's pretty likely that Spike and Jet had anticipated that. So, they were more or less prepared for this eventuality. Or even if they weren't, Spike has no issues handling himself. And just like that, it would seem that Faye is stealing the money and making off with it. Sort of speaks to her character as being duplicitous and capricious. Cares more about paying off her own debts than helping the people who help her or really anything else. Yeah, well, without somebody to buy the chip, it's worth nothing. So I guess all they can really do is gamble it away, hope there's dividends from it. You know, I think that's a fairly common outcome for how things go in Cowboy Bebop. You know, this chip, without somebody to pay for it, it really isn't worth anything, so you might as well squander it. Chet and Spike don't really know the true value of Vine, so, you know, as far as they're concerned, he's essentially a pet and they just keep him around. There's probably a couple other episodes where that's sort of how things work out. I don't know, I kind of like that, how everything returns to, I guess, the status quo. You know, like whatever happens episode to episode, sometimes it has like a permanent impact, but it's nothing earth-shaking. You know, everything sort of returns to a steady state, status quo kind of deal. It's comforting in a way. You know, there's something about returning to the status quo that gives a sense of certainty that isn't really present in real life to the same degree, I don't think. But, anyways, it looks like the next episode is the one with the eco terrorists. Alright, well, thank you for watching this far. If you like this episode, please stick around for the next one.